Always appreciate Mike Rodak joining us on the program. And if you missed that interview, you need to go download it and take a listen to it either today or tomorrow before kickoff between Alabama and Louisiana Monroe. Mike has been around this football program for a number of years. And Mike tells it the way it is. And Mike has his finger on the pulse of what's going on down there. And Landrum, some of the things that he in regards to things just feeling different in regards to some of the losses that they took last year. And maybe this is a sign of things being a little bit closer to an area that you and I thought that probably it wasn't there yet, but it could get there quickly.
Yeah, that's why we asked the question, and I was blown away by his response. Not that he wasn't going to be upfront and honest, but for him to say anything short of a college football playoff and maybe a little grace for a gray area of a 9-3 and kind of finishing the year like you did last year. Wow. It's a lot of cash. But by him telling me that if it gets that bad, or I guess 9-3 by some standards is not that bad, but you don't make the college football playoff, that there's people that are willing to go ahead and make the change now.
Well, here's the thing, and if you remember back, when Alabama was motivated to do whatever was necessary to bring in Nick Saban, the nation absolutely ridiculed the University of Alabama because they paid Nick Saban $4 million to coach football. It was the highest contract in all of college football, and America just absolutely ripped the state of Alabama apart, talking about Alabama is one of the worst educated states in the union, and now you're going to pay $4 million for a football coach. Well, why did Alabama do that? It's because the boosters were motivated. We are tired of this crap. We're tired of not being in the SEC race every year like we used to be back in the 90s. It is time for us to make a change, and we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. And they overpaid for Nick Saban, which is not overpaid because Nick Saban won a national championship, and then you saw what he did. But during that time frame, they definitely got out in front of the market and overpaid for Nick Saban because they were determined to get it turned around. Are those same people now motivated enough to pay $69.3 million on monthly installments to tell Kalen DeBoer to go back to the Pacific Northwest or wherever you're going to live? But we made a mistake here, and we need to do something before this thing falls off the edge.
Well, and there's some people, they have to have confidence in talking with people, whether it be third parties or directly to the source, feel like they got a good idea that somebody an elite coach would take the job. That would be my thoughts, because if you're gonna blow that staff out, you're gonna fire DeBoer after 2 seasons, you darn sure better know who you're targeting and have a pretty good feeling that the feeling's mutual.
You better have that deal already, like handshake agreement, ready to go. Because if you go through, I've covered a bunch of these coaching situations at Alabama where they definitely thought that they had somebody. I mean, heck, Mike Riley accepted the job, and they were getting ready for a press conference to be the next head coach at Alabama. At the last minute, his wife decided, nope, do not want to move to Tuscaloosa. We want to stay in the NFL. And Mike Riley played football at Alabama. And Mike Riley decided, I'm not going to be the head coach of Alabama. At the last minute, it changed. So you better have that sewn up pretty quick if you're going to do that.
Yeah, and you don't have the back and forth. You can't afford to have the back and forth. We got the transfer portal in that window coming up in January. We know how recruiting and all of that kind of comes to a head. If you better have, and if you have an elite coach, and you would think, all right, if you're going to replace Kalen DeBoer, you better have somebody that is considered an elite coach, not a guy where
you probably need somebody that's won a national championship.
Okay,
which there's 5 of those guys out there,
and that's great. And that's great. But do you have the understanding? If you're willing to take this job, you really want this job. Your team gets in the college football playoff. Are you going to tell them goodbye? You're going to be in Tuscaloosa, but we're going to have to ramp things up because we've got signing day, we've got college football playoff, we've got transfer portal, all of that happening. You got to be ready and committed. Okay.
And I'm just curious, and this isn't directed at you. I'm directed this to our audience. How would you define an elite coach?
Yeah. How do you do that these days? Dabo Swinney, well, it's all about what have you done for me lately.
Right.
Dabo Sweeney's name had a lot more luster.
I mean, are we calling Kenny Dillingham an elite coach
No.
because you won the Big 12 conference and
No.
got in the college football playoff?
No, definitely a coach to watch that think he's got an opportunity to be elite one day.
One day, absolutely.
What about Dan Lanning?
That's a great question.
I would love to see Dan Lanning back in the Southeastern Conference. I just, and I told you guys off the air, and I'll say it on the air. As long as Phil Knight is alive, I don't think Dan Lanning is going anywhere in Eugene, Oregon.
No, because Phil Knight can outbid anybody.
Absolutely. Like they have got their little fiefdom up there. They can overpay for recruits. They can do their own little thing.
All right,
And
do we consider Lane Kiffin an elite coach?
Personally, for me, I would say no. I think he's a very, very good coach. But you've never made a playoff. You've never made a conference championship game. You're not an elite coach.
All right, so from aside from Kirby Smart, he's got ties. He's not leaving Georgia. Who's that other elite coach?
that's kind of the
Yeah.
point of this
Not
exercise.
really a lot of them.
That's why it would be interesting if this does go down the road that Alabama fans don't want it to go down. But if it does go down that road, who do you want?
Exactly.
I mean,
Because, I think the two people that everyone say is Kirby and Dan Lanning. Dan
Kirby-
Lanning's not leaving and Kirby's not leaving.
No, they're not. So, I mean, that's just mark it off the list. It's not happening. Steve Sarkisian had his opportunity to come to Tuscaloosa.
So you're going to let's just say it's Lane Kiffin because he would take the job. You're going to replace Kalen DeBoer, who has won conference championships. Now,
Played for the
Lane
national
did
championship.
as well in Conference USA, but yeah, played for a national championship, got to a college football playoff. Doesn't have maybe some of the baggage that Lane does. Okay.
That's the deal. There's a limited number of people that actually have a national championship ring as a head coach.
Mhm.
You got Jimbo Fisher sitting out there.
I was about to say, and you're not
unemployed.
going to hire Jimbo Fisher.
You
I
got
don't
a
care
guy-
what the
yeah.
odds say.
If we're talking elite and just defining it as elite, you got a guy that's 0-1 right now in Chapel Hill with a bunch of Super Bowl rings. See how that's going.
I'll say that's why you got people saying, well, bring in John Gruden. He won a Super Bowl.
No, stop it.
I don't think you want that.
So I mean, that's where, you say you want to get rid of him, but then what's the alternative? And it's going to cost about $100 million when it's all said and done to fix the problem.
By the way, less than 2 years ago, I thought that Kalen DeBoer, and maybe it's still there, that was absolutely the best choice, the Grand Slam hire for Greg Byrne. I'm not going to pretend like I had questions about Kalen DeBoer. I thought it was a perfect fit.
He had won every single place that he had been. He had left every single place better when he left than when he got there.
And once again, I brought it up yesterday and I'll bring it up again. It's not like we're talking about a coach that can't recruit.
No.
The last 2 years, they have put together a heck of a recruiting class. So where's the disconnect? Why is this team, you're acquiring talent, you're getting them into Tuscaloosa, but it's not computing to victories? Where is the problem? Is it Kane Womack? I mean, you brought your savior in to run the offense. The last 2 years that he was your offensive coordinator, and I understand he was at Washington, and it's not SEC-type defenses, but you average 450 yards a game the last 2 years as Grubb is your offensive coordinator. And based on what you saw this last weekend in Tallahassee, does anybody think that they're going to come close to that 450 number this year?
Maybe the takeaway should be that Michael Penix Jr. is way better than we even realized he was. Be the takeaway.
All right, we've got a ton of text messages coming in. Just an incredible interview with Mike Rodak from Bama 247. We can talk about that. We'll do Bet It or Forget It and hear from Kyle Parmalee as region play begins in high school football. This is Three Man Front Football Friday on Jox. 11:33. Phone lines are open. 1-800-239-WJOX. Courtesy GMC text line 205-8349. Leaning a little bit too close to your house? Don't wait for that next storm to make that decision for you. Call Golston Tree Service 205-337-4443. Your trusted local experts in fast, affordable 4443. Your trusted local experts in fast, affordable professional tree removal, trimming, and cleanup. Licensed, insured, ready to handle any job, big or small. Call Golston Tree Service today at 205-337-4443. Golston also offers 24-hour emergency tree service. So when it comes to your trees, don't risk it. Call Golston Tree Service.
A lot of texts we're going to get to, but to give you context on some of the texts we're going to read, if you're just joining us, Pat, we had Mike Rodak, who we love, friend of the show. Nobody does a better job of covering Alabama, and he has his finger on the pulse of that program. He joined us in his normal spot, and we were a little, I don't want to say taken back, but my eyebrows raised when he essentially said that he could see a scenario where if Alabama, short of a college football playoff appearance, maybe there's some wiggle room for a 9-3, but short of that, he believes that could ultimately cost Kalen DeBoer his job. Reaction to that, but also, okay, so if you decide that you want to make that move, who's that easy choice? And we kind of went through, all right, who do we consider elite these days? Who are those guys? What are the realistic possibilities for Greg Byrne if he was to go and try to find a replacement?
It's interesting.
There's not a perfect candidate.
No, there's not. There are 3 current coaches that have national championship rings that are available for a conversation. Ed Orgeron, Jimbo Fisher, Urban Meyer.
As far as wins.
Okay, now hear me out.
No. As far as wins, Urban Meyer would be that guy. The only thing, and we're talking about baggage, and everybody's got it. Me, you, everybody in this room, everybody listening. Everybody's got baggage. But his is just creepy baggage. But I could see his personality kind of working.
He is a heck of a football college. He is a heck of a college football coach.
Would you take him in Tuscaloosa over Kalen DeBoer?
I can't do that. There's too much there. Mm-mm.
So we'll ask you the question.
In this scenario, like we already laid out last segment for anyone that didn't hear it, Dan Lanning's not leaving Oregon because Phil Knight money, and Kirby's not leaving Georgia. Why would you leave Georgia? I'll be dead serious with you. I think you have to go Dabo because he's won multiple national championships. He got a team to a playoff last year. But it probably comes with the caveat of we've really, really got to use that transfer portal.
So why wasn't Dabo Swinney? I mean, that was dead in the water.
It was.
There was absolutely.
You had local television stations sending crews down to the University of Alabama and getting groups of students that had assembled, that had gone to the trouble of making handmade signs saying they didn't want Dabo Swinney.
I think because a lot of younger people, and I would kind of throw myself in this category, and maybe y'all agree as well, but he comes off as very corny. I think that's what it is. I think it has to do more so with that because he's going through something that, let's be honest, you kind of saw at Alabama over the last handful of years, right, where the talent just hasn't been what it was during their heyday in the mid-2010s when they were winning national championships. And I know they just lost to LSU, and I think if they had beaten LSU, you would have a lot of people calling in this week saying, go fire Kalen DeBoer and hire Dabo Swinney. But he just lost to LSU, and so people aren't going to do that. But,
so hold on a second, and I'm not being ornery. I'm just asking the question. So you think Kalen DeBoer is not as corny as Dabo Swinney?
I think he's corny in his own way. I think Dabo's more corny.
See, I don't. Dabo's more opinionated.
That is true, yeah.
And I think sometimes his opinions coupled with
correct
the corniness, if you will.
The golly geez.
Yeah.
The God's name, image, and likeness comments and things.
Yeah.
Yes. It comes off as corny. But let's be honest. If you're Alabama, do you want a head coach that's – I mean, seriously, like at this point, do you want a head coach that's won multiple national championships and had a team in the playoff last year, or do you want a Lane Kiffin who the second that Alabama loses a game under Lane Kiffin and he goes and posts a funny meme on Twitter, the Alabama fan base is going to lose their minds.
I think we've seen that winning trumps all. Because you can be an absolute jerk to everybody you come across, but if you're winning championships,
absolutely,
people learn to live with your jerk.
You know how many phone calls we took on Feinbaum the moment that he accepted the job in Tuscaloosa, Nick Saban? How many people in South Florida and how many people in LSU was loading up our phone lines telling stories about what a jerk he was in the football office and how he never talked to the secretaries, and the secretaries would cry because, not that he would berate them, but there was not that one-on-one communication. He would tell janitors, do not talk to me. You do your job. I'm here to be the football coach, period. Because Malamore in Alabama was under the pressure of, you know what? This is what it's going to have to take to get this thing turned around. So if Dabo Swinney's the answer to that, then you just put up with whatever shucks, darn, all of his little goofy sayings or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Because at this point in time, you've won 5 football games in the last 10 games, and this thing ain't going anywhere fast. And you've got talent out the wazoo, and you're losing as double-digit favorites to a bunch of inferior opponents, including Florida State on Saturday. So, it's either this thing gets turned around or you're going to have to make some very difficult decisions. And to be honest with you, I would not want to be Greg Byrne because I just don't think that there is a slam dunk, ready to hire right now answer to this problem.
I completely agree with that. And again, I think that the fan base generally would tell you there is one person out there that everyone or 95% of the fan base would be happy with, but he's untouchable, and it's Kirby Smart. And that's the only one that would be an acceptable successor to Nick Saban, and that's not happening. So,
because it's so finite, the number of people that you probably would technically put in that category of being elite.
Correct.
Because you're not going to go down the same road as you did before. If you do get rid of Kalen DeBoer, you're not going to go hire, Matt Campbell. You're not going to go hire Kenny Dillingham. Because none of these guys they've won in a very short period of time. But
you would get blowback on Dan Lanning because people would compare his resume and then they would go head to head. What did he do against DeBoer?
Yeah.
Why are you removing a guy and replacing him with a guy that he can't beat?
No, I think if it were to ultimately get to the point where it's that bad that they have to make a move, I think you got to go after Dabo. And I know there's a lot of people that are probably screaming at the radio right now.
Well,
but look at the other options. And I know y'all said this the other day. I do not agree. I would not want Lane Kiffin as the head coach at Alabama. That has disaster written all over it. And I could be totally wrong on that. But again, you're hiring a guy with a bunch of baggage who's never won anything worth a darn in his entire life. Sorry.
Why did you choose Kalen DeBoer over Lane Kiffin the first time?
Because he played for a national championship.
Exactly. So if Lane wasn't your top choice before, why is he all of a sudden the answer and the solution to what
you would hire Lane Kiffin because you needed a coach that was going to take a discount to come to Tuscaloosa?
And if you think it's ridiculous, you're just joining the show, you think it's ridiculous that we're actually discussing this. Mike Rodak, who we trust, kind of blew us away with what he told us earlier, where we thought short of Kalen DeBoer either getting arrested, being indicted,
or going 3-9,
there's no possibility. The money was too steep, and DeBoer would get another year. Mike Rodak, and paraphrasing, said, no, that's absolutely not the case. He could foresee how bad would it have to get, anything short of a college football playoff. Maybe a 9-3 saves him, but anything short of a college football playoff, it's on the table.
Yeah, it's on the table.
It's on the table.
The discussion is more a realistic possibility as opposed to, no, it's not even going to be considered at all.
If it was a non-starter, then Mike Rodak would have laid out all the other things, the indictment, getting arrested, short of all of this, but he didn't. And we trust Mike. He's not going to put himself out there and his name out there and come on a blowtorch and Jox and put himself in that position if he has not talked to people and he doesn't believe it to be true.
And once again, we're stating that Mike Rodak's not saying that he's going to get fired.
Right.
We asked him the hypothetical question.
What would it take?
Right. And it was definitely not that he's good to go for the rest of the year. We'll see what happens and go from there. So
got a lot of texts coming in. We'll get to your texts, more of your phone calls as we discuss here on 11:47 on this football Friday, three-man front. Landrum, Pat, Conrad, and Molly. So glad you're with us. Text line is booming. We'll get to your text, more of your phone calls, rests throughout the show, but it's football season making his season debut. It's our buddy, my friend, JR, TakingVegas.com. JR joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Happy football season.
Happy football season to everybody out there listening in Alabama. I know it's a tough one. You guys coming off a rough week, to say the least. But have no fear. You're going to have UL Monroe coming up. You get to, build up some W's along the way and hopefully put it together. I think you'll see a completely different team by the end of the season than what you saw in week one. But that said, guys, we had week one of the NFL yesterday. A lot of people, unfortunately, on the wrong side of that game. A ton of public money coming in on the Philadelphia Eagles. And the over, I mean, geez, you look like that you were going to be a absolute lock on that. And then lightning struck, and unfortunately they didn't score another point. But look, stop trying to roll the dice and figure this stuff out on your own. Last year, on every game we gave out combined, and I'm talking everything from top plays down to regular service plays, we hit a total of, we had 580 games we gave out. We were 340 and 240. Guys, that's 60.1%. And if you do the math on that, that's 100 units above 500. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't know how to manage a bankroll, you didn't make as much as you should. But I've got clients that started off with $10,000 and made millions of dollars. Those are real numbers. So look, here's what I want you to do. I'm giving away tonight's game free. It's on a recorded line. Call the number. Chiefs Chargers. The line on this game, it's in Brazil. It's -3 Chiefs. The total on the game opened at 44.5. It's at 46.5. I'm going to let you know who's going to win and cover this game. Call right now and get it on the recorded line at 888-9-WIN-NOW. That's 888-994-6669. You get that one on the house. I'm not charging you $1. Sitting on a recorded line, absolutely free. Game one for anyone listening right now. And guys, I'm going to start you off with a big W on this game. I love the game tonight. So call the number, 888-994-6669. That's 888-9-WIN-NOW. And let's start making money at the beginning of the year.
I had a buddy earlier this week, JR, that called me. He said, "Man, I need some picks." I'm like, what? You need some picks? He said, "Yeah, I'm down." Well, we've had, essentially a pseudo week 0 of the college football season. Then we had week 1. He told me how much he was down. I said, "Well, golly, if you just call my buddy JR, we can manage that money." But you talk about, and you stress money management, but it's for people like my buddy and so many others that kind of forget, and they get excited like we all do for the college football and the unwise decisions. And you're just trying to keep everybody disciplined in doing this if they're going to do it consistently and win.
You know what? I couldn't have said that better myself. You really hit it spot on. So many guys look so forward to the NFL season and the college football season. They can't wait to start betting again because let's face it, baseball is not that fun to bet, right? It just isn't. So when football rolls around, you get pumped up, and now you run out there. You've got this bankroll you put together over the last few months, whatever you can store aside without the wifey seeing, or in a lot of cases the wife is involved, and you guys want to play, and you run out there and you blow half your bankroll in the first week. You're not thinking. Listen, let's put full transparency out there. I did not have the greatest first week either, but I didn't give away nothing other than 2 25% units. So we're not even down a half a unit at this point. I've got people down literally a half a unit on 2 net losses on my first week. And that's because last year, I mean, we hit 67% from August to September, and the first week was bad. I'm going based on history. You got a transfer portal, NIL, so many things out there that got to be put in place. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to come out swinging in week 2, and I'm going to kill it in the NFL because I do every year week number 1 in the NFL. So, look, stop trying to beat self. Win. We have consistently won over 60%. No one can say that for more than here on air. I'm giving you guys, over 70, sometimes 80%, and that's just one game a week. I want to load you up. I want to make you some real money. I want to show guys how to do this on the next level. You don't have to be a big player to get involved with somebody else, okay? Take advantage of my expertise. I've been doing this 30 years. I've done every bit of work that there is on formulating strategies, and I know what works. Call the number right now, Chiefs Chargers is on the house, sitting on a recorded line right now. 888-994-6669. That's 888-9-WIN-NOW to get the Chiefs Chargers absolutely free. Again, guys, on a recorded line. I can't make it easier. Call the number 888-994-6669.
And JR, you mentioned you're on the air record, so people, they get the transparency week to week, and you've been incredible in your career here on this program and on this station. You give a free pick. Typically, it comes from the NFL, where you slay it every single season. I know where you're going, and I love this opening week pick from you.
Well, you know what? Sometimes they just give you one. And I'm going to say this, too. If you go back historically, the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, the public actually does good. The books want you to win the first couple of weeks. It's like giving out money because they want to hook you. They want to get you betting all kinds of dumb parlays. You don't see all the marketing that's done on these sports books around the country. All you see is marketing towards parlays and stupid bets. Okay, we don't teach that. We teach how to win. We do it with strategy, and we only use straight bets, period. Okay, so first off, I love this free play, and I've used this team with and against them 1,000 times on the free picks, and I probably have an 85% record when I use them. So I absolutely love the Steelers this week. I think that they put it all together. All the pieces are there. This is a team, if you look at their schedule, can literally be 8-2, 9-1, or 10-0 in their first 10 games. And they're going against a team that Aaron Rodgers is definitely carrying a chip on his shoulder from, the way he feels he was treated by the Jets. And now he gets to go back to New York. The weather's going to be nice. He's got weapons. Now he's got Jonnu Smith. They got DK Metcalf. Yeah, they lost Minka Fitzpatrick, but that defense is still stout. TJ Watt is healthy. The Jets are still the Jets. They're going to fall apart. They're going to get beat. I'm looking for the Steelers to win this game between 10 and 14 points easily, maybe more, and to really put a nice exclamation point to start the year. So get in the Steelers, lay the 3. That's my free pick, and I'm taking it to the bank.
Yeah, get the free pick there on the hotline as well, 888-994-6669. That's 888-9-WIN-NOW. JR, woo, I'm excited. I feel like we're already 1-0.
Man, I'm pumped up. And, guys, if you're going to get in early. Let me show you how to utilize a long-term strategy with formulas that really work. So call the number. Get tonight's winner between the Chiefs and the Chargers on the recorded line for free at 888-669. That's 888-9-WIN-NOW. Week, man, I love doing this with you guys. Be safe, have fun, and let's go out there and let's make some money.
Likewise, my friend. Have a great weekend. Go win some money.
You too.
JR joining us once again. That number, 888-994-6669. 12 o'clock hour. Well, from that natural transition, we go to Better to Forget It. Conrad doing a little bit